Lucie's place is named after a good friend of mine, Lucille Marie Hamilton. She was a young transgender woman who lived here in Little Rock, and she actually passed away when she was 20, as far as we know, due to natural causes. But before she passed away, she was a really vocal advocate for the trans community, and was always out and about advocating for her community and sort of not asking that people respect trans people, but sort of like demanding it.
I always tell people that I fly under the radar. I don't want to be noticed that much, you know, and she was just above the radar in every sense of the word. She was the radar. People at her funeral would come up and tell me, you know, like, you always took up for us or stood up for us if they were out at like a fast food place and somebody was staring at them, her and maybe another transgender friend, she would step up.
Lucie's Place works with homeless, LGBTQ youth and young adults between the ages of 18 and 25, and we offer them assistance with counseling. We have case management here in the office, which is where we are, and this is also our drop-in center, and so folks come here during the day to work on resumes, job applications. They'll continue their education, or we also encourage them to just hang out if they need a place to go that's safe. A few months ago, we were able to open our first house, and so we now have housing for 4 previously homeless LGBT youth and young adults. And in that house, they just live and they develop the skills necessary for their future independence. You know, we want to prepare them to leave. We don't want them to be there forever, because that's not, you know, we're not doing our jobs if, you know, they need to be there forever. And so they typically live there up to a year, and during that time, you know, they'll get a job, keep their job, continue their education if they want, and then save up money to eventually move out and pay their rent or their deposit on their apartment or anything like that. Nationwide, we know that about 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBT, and as we do more surveys and more accurate surveys, that number is actually getting much closer to 50%. So nearly half of homeless youth and young adults identify as LGBT, which is very statistically significant when only about 7% of the general population identifies as LGBT. So we have this huge overrepresentation of LGBT folks within the homeless young adult community, and a large majority of them are homeless because their parents or guardians kick them out because of disagreements around their sexual orientation or gender identity.
That's too many people feeling like they can't love their kid for this thing that's not a drug addiction. It's not, they're not hurting anybody. When somebody transitions, it affects the whole family, or, you know, it affects, and so not in the same way. It's not as, you know, it's a different way, but I'd like to see more help, some help for parents and family members as well, you know, and understanding and helping. And it's not saying, you know, it's not telling people they're wrong for their feelings. It's just saying, read this and look at this, and here's some, you know, there's medical studies and there's all sorts of information out there that will just give you an idea that your kid didn't wake up one day and just want to screw up everybody's life. Sitting down with other parents who are also going through that, and being able to discuss it and realizing, you know, you're not sitting out here by yourself. It might feel like that in your community, but you can come out here and other people are going through it, and it's okay. And it's okay if it takes you a minute.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time thinking about privacy and security and all of that, because Arkansas is still a very unsafe place for LGBT people as a whole to live, but also our folks are, you know, they're riding the bus, they're walking, you know, walking down the street a lot. You know, they're in sometimes these situations that in general aren't very safe, and if people can pinpoint them as LGBT or as, you know, people who are living in a Lucie's Place home, you know, it definitely makes them a target for harassment. You know, right now we're working to, you know, address the needs of people who are currently homeless, but our long-term goal is to, you know, begin work around these issues around faith and spirituality and LGBT folks. Because if we can address that issue, then we, you know, can directly impact the number of folks who get kicked out in the first place.
I think she can see it. Sometimes I can feel her, you know, and she would just, you know, I think she would be in there giving people makeovers, you know, and doing, you know, just like, come on, let's go, you know, let's go do this. And having parties. She'd be planning parties at the house. I'm almost certain that she would. sometimes they feel closer, and I don't know, you just keep talking to people because, you know, you just want them there.
We are entirely funded by our community. We receive no city, state, or federal money. All of this happened because our community said that they wanted to, and they said that with either donations or in-kind donations of toiletries and underwear and bus passes and that sort of stuff, or they've gone out in their community and done events for us and helped raise money, and then also be advocates for homeless LGBT youth in their own, you know, social circles. So I think the best thing that people can do is, if you're able, you know, become a monthly donor to Lucie's Place.